Okay, first off, my allergies are bugging me, so my voice might sound funny, but I'm going to try and make a quick quickish tutorial video on Elden Ring and some of the Souls games too, for people who haven't played before. So I'm making this character like a paladin-esque type one, so I'll show you some of the tactics towards that later. But for now, we'll start with like equipment. So you see I'm using this golden halberd +5. I'm a paladin. I have some points in faith. So as you see, this weapon scales with strength C, dex E, faith D. So it gets damage from all three of those stats, mostly from the strength, but a little bit from faith and dex. Of course, the higher the letter, like B, if they were B's or A's, the more damage you would get from those corresponding stats. I also have like this one, Vike's War Spear, similar scaling, a little more towards the faith and dex. As you can see, strength goes from C to D. You're also run into sometimes like faith you see as D on both of those, but on the Vike's War Spear it's blue D. So that's kind of like almost like a hidden D plus. So this might be a D or a D minus. That's a D plus. So you're getting a little bit more, even though they're both Ds. I also have this one that's just straight dex and strength. The nice part about like this one is it looks like a standard weapon, but if you go to switch display, you will see the power of the right yet lingers. A small amount of FP is restored upon slaying a foe. So this one, every time you kill an enemy, or even if an enemy nearby falls off a cliff or something, you will get a small amount of mana back. So as a paladin or caster type, a weapon like this could be very useful, as mana doesn't regenerate in this game at all. So you have to use mana potions or items like this to restore your mana, or rest at a fire, but if you rest at a fire, all of the enemies will respawn. That's pretty much, I have that one upgraded. Nothing special about it. The nice part about this weapon is it does madness damage. So when you build up madness on an enemy, or mostly it's PvP based, because it mostly only affects humanoid enemies or human-sized enemies too. Even if an enemy's bigger but it looks humanoid, it probably won't be affected by madness. When a madness meter fills up, the enemy takes a massive chunk of damage, and they're stunned for a while as their eyes like burn out of their head. This one happens to have a special buff that it can cast. A lot of the items have a unique skill, like this one does a thrust, where you leap into the air and you thrust the thing down into the ground, and it does a bunch of fire damage. I'll probably show that in a bit. But I want to stick to stats for now, I'm getting sidetracked. So shields, they do scales, you see strength B, but that's only if you're attacking with the shield, which I'm not going to be. I'm blocking with the shield. There are certain shield abilities, like you said, see this one says barricade shield. That's actually an ability that boosts the guard boost on the shield, but you can't attack with it. If you were to get an attacking ability, that's where the attack power would come into play. When you're looking at shields, you only want to look at the guarded damage negation section on the right. You can see this one blocks 100% of physical, a good chunk of magic. You know, a lot of them don't really block a lot of magical attacks, but they do negate it somewhat. The most important things to look at on a shield, though, would be physical and guard boost. So what guard boost does is, whenever you block a hit, a chunk of your stamina bar gets taken away just to block it. What guard boost does is negate some of that stamina loss. If you can get your guard boost to 100, it costs you 0 stamina to block a hit. So as of the shield is now, 71 guard boost, it's only costing me 29% of the stamina to block a hit. And if I cast that barricade shield ability, that boosts it by like 30-ish. So then I reach that 100 threshold, and it costs me no stamina to block a hit. But that buff only lasts about 15 seconds, so it's kind of annoying to keep it buff or to recast it constantly. But yeah, so that's how that works. It's not necessarily great. See, if you can see, mine's upgraded to +13 at the blacksmith. I think the shield started at like 63 guard boost or something like that. Let me see. I think I have a default one here. 67. So I've upgraded it 13 times, and that's all I gained really. The scaling and stuff on the damage went up, but that's not important, like I said. So I gained a whole 4% more guard boost. It's not that great. May it save you sometime? Possibly. So I did it. I mean, if I get this up to plus 25, I think is the highest you can go on a standard item that upgrades with regular smithing stones. I might get that to like 75 guard boost. I don't know. That might be worth it. Maybe 80. Nah, probably 75. But there's a few shields that have higher. Like that one starts with 75 unupgraded. But it also weighs 24 pounds as compared to 15. So, you know, that one I think I could push it to like 80 or 85 if I were to upgrade that Visitor's Shield. This brass shield is one of the better ones. It's a medium shield that's not too heavy. That has really high guard boost for being a medium shield, and it does 100% physical resistance, etc. As a paladin, I'm using like Templar type spells, so you're going to use a Sacred Seal to cast your spells. That's why I have this equipped. So I switch off my shield when I want to cast a paladin type spell or priest type spell. I have multiple of these. This one just happens to scale better with paladins because it scales with strength and faith, whereas a lot of the other seals just scale mostly with faith. This one also boosts, what is it? Enhanced bestial incantations, which I don't have any currently, but you take these. There's a guy you take these items to, and he gives you beast spells. So you just got to pick one of those that fits your character. What else is there? So my armor, of course, I'm using the best I can use without going overweight. See, I do have a better helmet, but if I were to put that whole scaled set on, I'd probably go overweight. If you see over there on the right side, my weight is 60.3 out of 90.9, and it says medium load. If you go into where it says heavy load or encumbered, heavy load you won't really be able to roll hardly at all. So it's very hard to dodge enemies with the rolls. Yeah, it is a playstyle some people could go for if you went ultra heavy with super heavy shields and just didn't roll and blocked everything. Not most people would try that though. But of course you could go really light, pick something that doesn't negate much damage at all. And just because it's lower too, sometimes they have better resistances to like immunity. See, you can see that one has 57 immunity. So if you're in an area with a lot of poison, you may want to put something on that puts you at higher resistance to poisons, because a lot of these heavier armors don't necessarily have the greatest. Yeah, that takes me to heavy load, just going to the scaled armor chest from this Mausoleum Knight armor. All the stats go blue. Everything goes up. Physical goes from 13.5 to 16. But it's 5 more pounds. Another thing to look at would be the poise stat. See, it's poise 21 on mine. That goes to poise 27. Your poise is how many hits you can take without getting staggered. Or like if you're in the middle of an attack and an enemy hits you, it determines if that enemy will interrupt you. And so you might get your attack canceled. Instead of trading blows, they would interrupt you if they got their hit slightly earlier than you. So that's poise is pretty nice for that. The higher your poise, the more chance you're not going to get like stun locked too. If like 2 or 3 enemies get around you and start hitting you, you might have a better chance of getting out of there alive or rolling out of there or whatever, not getting just stun locked. Your trinket slots, you get up to 4 of these later. You just build around so since I'm blocking a lot and meleeing a lot, I have a stamina recovery speed talisman, and then I have a guard talisman, so when I do a guard counter, which I'll show you what it is later, when you block an attack, you can do an instant counter that this boosts my I believe damage and maybe stagger with the attacks. Here you can put your quick items. I try not to keep too many because in the middle of a fight, you don't want to be toggling through 10 things to get back to your health potions. You know, that's a lot. You want to keep it at most 5 probably, but that's really up to your playstyle. If you don't accidentally scroll past, because you can't go back a space when you're cycling them. If you go past it, you got to go all the way around again, as far as I know. Another thing to look at would be your pouch over here. Very nice thing that they added. So once you set a pouch item, like here, I'm going to go over to it, and then I'm going to hit switch. I have my pet as one of those things, or you can put anything you want really there, but I like that one there. I have a lantern there, so you can activate it here, you see, but I'll show you another way to activate it. I have my Flask of Wondrous Physic there, so before I go into boss room, I click that. I don't have to keep it on my quick buttons. That saves me. All these save me, there's a horse. All these save me having to toggle through my regular items down here multiple times. So all I'll do is hold the Y button, which would probably be the E button or something on keyboard. You'd have to look, and bring up. See, it changes over there on the bottom left. Hit down, boom, horse. Hit down again, or sneak will get you off your horse also. If I want to pull out my lantern, boom, hit to the side, boom, way faster. Let's look at stats real quick. So you can go to explanation. You can see, like vigor. It's your HP, your resistances, and immunities. It boosts immunity and robustness and stuff down there at the bottom right. Also boosts your health. Mind is how much FP you have, your mana. Also affects focus. I'm not entirely sure what focus is. I haven't looked it up. I keep forgetting. Something to do with casting, I'm sure. Maybe it's kind of like poise for casters, how many hits you can take without getting your spell interrupted, I'm assuming. Endurance, your stamina bar, and how much you can carry. The higher this is, the heavier of an army you can put on, and the more melee or such attacks you can do in a row. Although spells do cost stamina and mana too, so that's kind of weird, but stamina regenerates at least. Strength, your weapons, regular weapons. Weapons at scale with strength, of course. Also affects your physical defense, so your defense versus physical, strike, slash, etc. gets up by strength. Dexterity is advanced armaments like katanas, flails, bows. So that scales with that. Of course, a lot of strength weapons also have dexterity scaling, so I have a few points in that. And I have a few points just so I could use a bow if I need to. Intelligence is for sorcery casters. That's not what this character is, so I've left it at the bottom. Faith is incantations, which are priest type spells. That's why this is boosted pretty high on this character because of being a paladin. Of course, being a caster type or even a hybrid like a paladin, I'm having to spread my points out very far apart. I could have vigor. If I was like a straight melee person, I would have like vigor, endurance, strength, and a little bit of dexterity. And maybe a couple points in mind, just so you can cast your weapons, special abilities if you need to, or summon a pet, one of the summons. But other than that, it's very limited on. So I would have been able to boost like all these up to like 55 by now, or maybe 50, and I wouldn't have any points in faith or whatever. So that's kind of the negative of making a hybrid, or a caster. People say the casters are too OP. No, but they got to spread points across a bunch of different stuff, which makes them weaker, like health-wise and stuff. If they want to boost their casting ability high enough, their health and stuff is going to take a hit, and they won't be able to carry. They won't have the endurance, so they're going to have to wear light armor. So they're weaker overall if they actually get hit. And even like dexterity is actually something that you might want to boost as a caster because it affects your casting speed, how fast you can get a spell cast and off and sent off. So like really I should be like, well, since I'm a paladin, I'm not super concerned about the casting speed, but if you're a full-on caster, that's another one you have to put points into. I said intelligence, I said faith. Um, Arcane boosts your item discovery. It's only like 1% a point. Your discovery starts at 100, which is like baseline, vanilla. Enemies just have their normal drop chance to get an item. So like some items are like 0.5% drop chance. So that's the standard. Then if you boost, I'm with the 10 in Arcane, which I didn't spend any. That's what I came with. I'm at 110 discovery. So that adds 10 more percent on top of 0.5. So what, 0.6? Not that great. But if you are farming a particular item you want and you're having a hard time getting it, there is a place you can respec in the game. There are a limited amount of respecs you can do, but you could go there, spec it a lot heavier into arcane and up your chances of getting that item. Not by much, really, but it's something. It also affects some bleed type weapons seem to have. There's some sorceries, incantations, and bleed type weapons that that scale with arcane. Of course, HP, FP, stamina. That's all pretty self-explanatory. Equipment load, we went over that. Poise, we went over that. Discovery, we went over that. Memory slots, you can find these amulet necklaces around the game, and that's how many memory slots you have for spells. As you can see, I found 7 of them so far. This character started with 2 slots, so I've actually found 5 then. I haven't filled them all though, because I don't want to be toggling through spells either in the middle of a fight, so I've kind of curated it down to like the ones I want the most. But you could load up all those slots if you wanted. That's your attack power with your weapons. That's with everything, all your stats and everything included in. Don't really need to worry about immunity and all that too much unless you're in an area with poison. It really doesn't like make you immune to the poison. What it would do is if you're in a poison area and that bar of poison builds up on you, it extends the bar longer. So it makes it so it's harder to poison you, but if that bar does fill up, then you will get poisoned, and then you have to do something to cure it. There are items to cure it, or that red spell in the middle I have there is a cure. That's a paladin type cure or priest type cure. Let's see. Inventory. Of course, just go through here, see what stuff does. Flask of Wondrous Physic. It's a new thing that they added. You can chug it before a boss fight. You can mix it however you want. So like the way I've mixed this one is I get a health regen off of it, and it boosts my faith attribute higher. You find those throughout the crystals that go into it that change it how you want. You find throughout the game. Mostly you find them at Erd trees, which would be these things on the map. Minor Erd trees. There's usually a boss under it, and they drop the crystals and stuff that go into it. Although there's occasional ones that are in weird spots, like there's one like right around here-ish, up in the mountain. It's in a bowl. You loot it, and you get a free crystal that goes in there. And then you just go to the fire and mix it however you want. So you go here, mix Wondrous Physic, and you fill the 2 slots you get with whatever whatever you want. I should really be on my other character for this because I got way more physics, but I don't want to ruin it all. I'll toggle through these and pause it if you want to see what one does. There. So, Great Runes. This is a new thing they added too, I believe. So when you kill one of the major bosses, I happened to get Godric the Grafted's Great Rune. So I can equip that in my Great Rune slot, which I hadn't done. I just did this tonight. But just beating him doesn't get you the Great Rune. So after I beat him, I had to. So you go through the whole castle. You kill Godric the Grafted. Boom, he's dead. But then you have to go over here to the Limgrave Tower Bridge, which you have to get there through the main gate or through a back way. the best way is to get this gateside chamber by coming the back way from the rampart tower. You can drop down behind all the guys with the crossbows, kill them all, and you get this fire right here. So in the future, if you need to come back here, you can just come out that gateside chamber. They can still see you, but you can hurry and run and get around the corner where they can't, and then you can go up top and kill them again. Then you go here, there's a guardian, you go to this fire, you got to get across this bridge. There's a teleporter here, and it takes you to this tower over here. And that gets you the Godric's, the Great Rune. And so what you do, I've equipped that now. So then I can go to my inventory and activate whatever Great Rune I have on. So I'm going to use a Rune Arc, which you earn these from helping people do dungeons or kill bosses. I've helped Ryan a few times, so I've got 20 of them. You can also find them rarely throughout the world. So they're not something you can keep on constantly all the time unless you help people a lot. But this will help you realize the full potential of your character. So I didn't look at it, but that Godric Grafted Rune boosts all stats by +5. Raises all attributes. It doesn't tell you. It's +5 to all your attributes. So what we're going to do, let's see, look at my status real quick. You want to take a screenshot or something, or pause it. 1450 health, and 40 on a lot of my stats, 35. So we're going to activate that Great Rune now. You see all my resistances went up. That's what those bars are. 45 vigor, 45 endurance, 40 strength. Everything went up. Health went up. So yeah, it's nice to run around. If you die though, you lose the buff, and you would have to recast it again. There's a lot of great runes from different bosses. Like the one I run on my other character is every time an enemy dies, you get a good chunk of health back. Very nice. So there's that. Multiplayer, you'll find these items pretty close to the beginning of the game. Well, especially these 4. This is how you turn this on if you want to summon somebody to your world to help you. If you want to leave their world, you use the finger severer to send you back to yours. If you want to go help somebody else, you would write this on the ground, and somebody can find it and pull you to their world. And then this is a new item they did, and there's statues near bosses. I don't think there's any one right here, but there's these like I don't know, crescent-shaped statues with like maybe a girl at the bottom, I think. But you can put down that small golden effigy there, and it will send it to many of those effigies around that area, and you can get randomly pulled to help, fight this boss or that boss. It's not just at the boss you're at or at the spot you're at. These are for PvPing. If you want to go invade other people, same thing. These are all like invasion items, and these are cool. You can buy these at the Round Table Hold. They've had these in past games. So you can put this ring on, and if somebody needs help to fight one of these people invading them, you'll get pulled over to their world to help fight the invader. And if you want to be helped by somebody, you use this white cipher ring, which will automatically request help from one of these blue cipher helpers. If you get invaded, they'll get pulled right away to try and help you, if you can survive long enough for them to get there, because they get pulled in slightly after the invader goes into yours, I think. And I think if you help people, you get more of those rune arcs and stuff too. So if you like PvPing and you want to get more rune arcs and help people, you can do it that way. What else is there? Item crafting, very good. Find recipe books throughout the game on merchants or random places. Just gather stuff, and you can craft stuff to be able to cure blood loss or cure poison buildup, or even cure the poison itself. Something that a lot of people have been sleeping on is these throwable pots. You can find the pots randomly throughout. Apparently, they're somehow reusable, even though you throw them and they break. But the more pots you find, the more pots you can craft. Once you throw them, you can craft more. It's just dependent on how many. Like if you have 10 pots, you can only craft 10 pots. But then once you throw them away, you can just craft 10 more of whatever. But they also scale with your character's stats. So they're not like an item that's just like a set amount of damage, and you'd be like, oh, that does really good damage low levels, but then it's not good higher. No, they'll scale as your character grows, so they can be good for that. And like some of the sleep potions and stuff, if you get attacked by 2 bosses at once, you might be able to put one of the bosses to sleep. If you're not a character you're not really wanting to spec into bows, but you still want to be able to pull enemies to you, like if you shoot an enemy with a bow or one of these darts, their friends won't help them unless they'll turn your way, all of them, but only the one that got hit will come at you unless you're close enough that all of them could see you, really, which most enemies have a pretty short sight range. So you could just, instead of having a bow on and having that weight on your character too of a bow, you could just put these on, you put them in your quick slots, you lock onto an enemy, and you throw it with your use button, and it'll throw it, and the guy will come to you. And so those are really, really nice. Stuff like these rainbow stones are nice if you don't know if you're going to fall off an edge, if you jump off an edge, if you'll die to like something below. Line up where you would land at, or line up to the edge, and throw one of these off the edge. You can just go to your inventory and hit use, and it'll throw it down. If it shatters on the way down, you'll die. If it hits the ground and turns green, you'll take no damage. If it hits the ground and turns like a certain color, you'll take some damage. So that's a good way to know. And this is another one. So soft cotton, you could use this. So if that turned red or orange or something when it hit the ground, you could use some soft cotton to negate some of the fall damage. But it says it reduces fall damage, but it doesn't, like if it was a fall that would have killed you, it's gonna still kill you. It won't help negate a deadly fall. It would just stop the damage that you would take on a normal fall. Here's where you craft more of those finger remedies. If you're gonna play with people, make sure you're grabbing all the herbs you can find. You know, especially these spawn mostly in the starter area, so grab tons of these earthly flowers. So you can not have to, tell your friend, hold up, I gotta go farm some flowers real quick because I didn't grab any. Of course, you can craft arrows on the fly. One of the tricks to this would be, that's great. That's new with this crafting system. So, if I go into a dungeon, I can only carry 99 arrows for my bow. You can also carry, 99 and 99 for 2 slots. You can also carry some bolts, so I guess you could switch to a crossbow if you have a decent one. But once you run out of your arrows, say you're just using bow purely, if you ran out of arrows in a dungeon, you can't refill unless you go to a fire or go to a merchant and buy more. Well, so that's another thing. If you can buy like 700 arrows, and every time you go to a fire, the fire will automatically top you off from your stored arrows. But yeah, if you're in the middle of a dungeon, you can't top off unless you touch a fire. If you touch a fire, everything respawns, and all that stuff you killed was for nothing, really. Unless you're, not planning to go back that direction again in that area. But, so something you could do is use up, whatever arrows you have on you. Then you can go to crafting, and you could, on the fly, craft some bone-fletched arrows or some bone arrows in the middle of the dungeon. And then that kind of gets you out of that stuckness of being out of arrows completely. What else is there? Equipment. We went over that. Inventory. There's a lot of items in the game. Just make sure temporarily boosts physical attack, but you can also look in there and see some extra flavor text or something, or sometimes there's hidden text like on that weapon that restored mana. There is a way to use, like, say I wanted to use all 3 of these. Normally you would hit, like, use. Oh, it goes out of your inventory and you crack 1. You got 300 whole runes. Oh, damn it. Now I gotta go all the way back in, go to inventory, go all the way back down there. So if you hit simple view, boom, it showed it at the bottom. Now you hit use selected, 2. You're not out. I can still do more. You can't see how many you got, though, is one of the negatives. Something I should show you I just found last night if you want to see, it's under, I can't remember where it's, oh, here it is, under, yes, under sound and display. You can turn off blood if you want. I forgot, a friend of mine wanted to know if he could do that, and I didn't know. I said no, but I guess you can. So here, if you're playing on keyboard, which you shouldn't be, because that's not the way these games are meant to be played, really, but if you are, or if you have to, you can switch the device for on-screen prompts to keyboard and mouse. See, now at the bottom, you can see on keyboard and mouse, two of my friends were stuck with that. We were playing on keyboard. They couldn't tell what button to press to get to like that simple view that I did a minute ago. So you can just toggle that. So I'm going to leave it on gamepad for me, but what's another thing? Summons. Early on in the game, you get your horse and you travel back to the first church at night. A lady gives you a bell and you can cast summons that will that can help you out in certain areas. Like you'll see I have that little gate icon on the bottom left there, or middle left. That means I can summon a helper here. I'll just summon mine right now, one of them. Cost you mana. And they have infinite time, but they have a tether on, like, if you leave this area that he's summonable, he'll get dismissed, or if he dies, he'll get dismissed. But yeah, let's see. So inventory. So I have a few. There's way more than this. You can see this is a Lutel the Headless +2. At the Round Table Hold, you can talk to a girl there and talk to the blacksmith, and you can convince him to train her. Go back and forth, and eventually she'll, if you rest at the fire, once you've got all that talking done, she'll show up and give you the ability to level these guys up with grave gloveworts, which you find in mini dungeons mostly. Just be careful. Later on, you can get the ability to buy some of the grave gloveworts, but the max you can upgrade to something is to +10, and you can only buy the stuff to go up to +7. So don't ever take anything plus to +7 or 7 or higher, or whatever, or 8 or higher, unless you're absolutely sure that's one that you want to like max out, because you're not gonna, the items to make them that strong are limited. The same with weapons. If it's an item that upgrades with somber smithing stones, these ones, the white ones, you can eventually get the ability to buy up to the +7 stones. A somber weapon that upgrades with somber stones can go up to +10. But there are only very few of the items in the game that take it to 8, 9, and 10. So at the most, only ever push a weapon to +7. Especially, especially earlier on, if you can't get the item that lets you. There's a bell bearing thing you take to the merchant, and they'll start selling these. But yeah, and same for the regular smithing stones. Anything that upgrades with regular smithing stones can go up to +25. But I think it's around 18-ish. You want to stop, because anything past +18, the smithing stones are very limited in the game. Like I said, you can buy. You'll be able to buy these up to the ability to go up to +18, but 19 plus to 25, very limited in the game, so you won't be able to buy them. So unless you go to New Game Plus, you won't be able to get more of them. So just be very careful. Same with the gloveworts. Don't go too high on them. So it's one you're absolutely sure you like enough. This is all crafting stuff. Those are all smithing stones. Here's those necklaces I said for how many memory slots you have for spells. Your keys. Stone sword keys are used to open fogged over gates. You can open them up, and sometimes there's some good loot behind there. Sometimes it's not something for your class, but I haven't generally had a problem running out of them yet. So I just open every fog gate I come up to that requires them. Celestial Dews are used at the Church of Vows. So if you killed a merchant, or if you killed a NPC that you accidentally didn't mean to, you can go to the Church of Vows and use one of these to bring them back to life, and they'll forgive you. There are only a limited amount of these in the game, though, so don't just like murder people willy-nilly. Tailoring tools allow you to tailor your like my chest piece has that cloak on the back of it. I can remove that. It reduces the weight, but it also lowers the stats. But if you want a look without a cape on it, and you don't mind losing a little bit of stats, you could do that. The wet blades that you find, there's more of these, are for when you're messing with the weapon arts in the game, which is you can do it at the fire or blacksmith. I just rested so my pet died. Ashes of War. So you can see on this Lordscorn's great sword, I have a weapon art of Hoarfrost Stomp on it. You can change so if somber weapons, you cannot change their weapon art. Like my poleaxe thing I have, it's set. You can't change it. That's its special ability. They're like special weapons. Regular weapons like these knight swords or this Lordscorn's sword, you can change the weapon art to whatever you want out of a bunch of abilities you find in the game. And then also, so those wet blades give you the option to change the stats down there. So you can see this scales, it gets rid of the intelligence scaling of that particular ability. So that's why it's standard. So standard, the ice ability scales with dex, strength, and intelligence. But if you wanted it to scale with like only strength, you could go heavy, or keen is all dex and a tiny bit of strength. And then later on, or see here's cold, that scales with dex, strength, and intelligence. If you wanted later, I mean, if you find enough wet blades, you can also get more types of scaling that you can adjust the weapon to, and you might have to do a little bit of math. I did figure out, even though I don't have any intelligence, the cold one scaled more damage for me at the time when I did it. When I did the math, it scaled more damage. So eventually I might be able to find one of the wet blades that does faith, which if I got one that did strength and faith or something, that would make the weapon do even more damage. So it allows you to adjust your weapon to your playstyle and adjust the weapon's special ability to your playstyle, which is very nice. So here's where your alter garments also at the fire. You can see I can change, so I can change my chest piece right here that I have on and take the cape off. It'll lower it to 10.8 pounds, so I'll lose a pound, but I'll also lose a good chunk of stats. All red. It's only a little bit, but red across the board. I memorize spells. I mentioned it, but yeah, here's where you go, and you just go to the slot, and you fill in whatever you want to put in there. What else? I don't have enough pyramids to level up. Inventory, let's keep going through that. Your spells page, if you want to find out more information on what a spell does, or the information about it. Those are sorceries, those are incantations. Here's the weapon arts, in case you want to find out more information on what they do. This is a really nice one, Bloodhound Step, because it basically you almost like teleport. Instead of having to roll, you teleport to a different location a couple feet away. Of course, instead of rolling costs just stamina, this costs mana to be able to do that dash. Pretty nice in PvP. If you're not using your mana for anything else really too, it's also just nice for a boss fight to be able to like teleport behind them. Let's keep going through those. Weapons, kind of went over that a little bit. I have more, but I put most of them in my chest at the fire just to clean it up, because if I'm in the middle of a fight and I realize that my weapon's not doing very well versus that type of enemy, certain enemies like rock enemies swords don't hurt them very much. You need something more blunt. I'm not even sure if halberd counts as blunt enough to do it. Maybe the poke attack on it counts as piercing. But generally you want like a blunt type weapon for rock type enemies or heavily armored enemies, or piercing for like heavily armored enemies to pierce through the armor. So not everything's a win-all, although you can just power through it sometimes if your weapon's strong enough. These staffs are for the sorceries type casters. your arrows, your shields. I went over that, like the different types of guard boosts and stuff. Your armor sets and the weights and the stats. Some of the, more of the accessory slot things. This is only a very small portion of the ones I have, or that there are. These ones seem like crap because they boost your damage taken, but it's only 15%. So if an enemy hits you for 100 or 50, say it's 50, that's only like 8 damage more. That's not very much compared to that boost. That would boost all my stats by +5 for that type. I think the Sword Seal is all magic stats, and the Scar Seal is all melee type stats. Here's some maps you might come across the game. Here's some lore. Well, let's go to the practical real quick. I'm going to show you what backstabs are. You can go to sneak mode, come up behind an enemy, and just backstab. I'm going to go to my spear for a minute just because I want to show that one off here in a minute. So I'm going to use some of my throwing daggers here too. That guy has a horn. He'll call the entire camp if he gets a chance. Oh, I only took one. See, they're going to investigate, but they have no idea where it came from. So while they're doing that, I'm just going to, chill back over here. I can also just, go in full. Different weapons have different abilities. Like I got a charging attack for this one is that. So I'm going to do a guard counter here. Wait for him to hit me. So I waited till I blocked, and then I hit heavy attack. I should mention when I backstab that guy that you hit light attack when you're behind the enemy, not heavy attack. So let's do another one. Boom, boom. So let's do a test real quick, see how much stamina it takes me to block this guy's hits without casting the buff. See, a little chunk of stamina. You also have to let go of block. See, my stamina regenerates very slowly if I don't let go of block. But if I let go, boom, instant. Okay, now I'm going to cast my buff. Now let's see what it does now. Come on, hit me. Well, I still got the buff. Doesn't last long. See how long that... That was a heavy attack. Nothing. See? Nothing. Now, see, it only lasts like... I think it used to last 15. They nerfed it. So I'm going to show you a trick here too. I'm locked on. I'm going to try and get behind him while he's in the middle of doing his moves. I'm just going to spin around him a bit. He did a guard counter on me. You hear that sound? These guys are a little harder to get behind. Oh, accidentally unlocked. Maybe I should demonstrate it on one of the easier. These are one of the tougher guys in this. There we go. So I was able to sneak behind him and get the backstab. Didn't work as quickly as I hoped, but it's something. I was really at no risk as long as I stayed locked on and kept my block up. Let's reset, and I'm gonna let that horn guy give a call, and then I'm gonna use my weapon special ability and show you what like a special ability can do. Or actually, first things first. I'm gonna show you what one of my incantations can do, like the frenzied burst. So if I just tap it, it does a quick cast, 575. Well, I think that's just the enemy's max health. If I hold it, oh, see, I got interrupted. It actually does more holding it, but the cast takes longer. And you saw it went through 2 stages of like build up instead of 1 stage. Try this Crucible Tail thing. Yeah, I'm out of shield right now. I could put this in my right hand and use my right hand to cast it and keep my shield out. But actually, I think even if I did that, I'd still have to. I'd have to like two-hand it or something to cast. So it's better to keep it in your left hand, although some testing may be required. This one has a. If I just tap it once, you do one tail swipe. If I tap it twice, and did you hear that sound? That was that guy got his poise got broken. So that meant he was stunned, so I was able to go up and do a front backstab of a sorts on him. If you ever hear that sound, that means that that enemy got their poise broken and they're stunned, and you can walk in front of them and you can do a finisher type move on them. Also, when you're doing backstabs and finishers, you cannot be hit. You're invincible while you're doing the animations for that. Alright, so let's try and go two-handed with this. We're going to let the horn guy see us, and we're going to see what this weapon can do versus these guys. Oh yeah, I'm blocking with my spear. Alright, let's go to town. Boom. Not even that much mana. That's a really good ability on that. What else do I got? No. That Horfrost Stomp's okay, but mostly versus low-level enemies unless you really upgrade the weapon. It's good for clearing groups of enemies, even maybe more so than this one. So you have to two-hand the weapon, and then you have to use your forget what button it is. It would be not your block, but your other ability. Let's see. Oh, everything already came at me. That's a little chest down there, by the way, in that spot. Anyway, I won't show it, but I'll just show it here. So it has an initial wave of damage when it goes through them, and then it has one that shatters. It does a second wave of damage. Most enemies it'll kill pretty quickly. I mean, I want to say that's it, but I'm sure there's more I'm missing. Another thing you might want to look into, I mean, every time, like, you'll find golden seeds throughout the game, and these tier type things that are at churches throughout the map. So, see it. Oh, add charge, that's how you use your golden seeds. I don't have enough, but that's how you would get more flasks to use. And then if to increase the amount it actually heals you or fills your mana, you use Sacred Tears, which you find at churches throughout the game. I don't have any, but that's how that would make my potion, instead of healing me for like a little baby chunk, you can eventually heal yourself for. And it's very important as your health bar gets bigger as you're leveling that you get those so that you can actually, do a dent to your health instead of having to chug 10 of them. Allocate flash charges. If you're a purely melee person, you're not really going to want to allocate any of these. None to mana really, which you can do that if you want. As being a paladin, I'm doing a little bit towards mana. Also, something to take into account. I've been trying to find 4 more seeds so I can get 1 more flask, because when you go to help somebody or when you go to invade somebody, you're split in half the amount of flasks you have. So if I go in there with 4 mana, I only get 2. If I had 8 health ones, I would go there in there with 4 when I help somebody. But since I have 7, they round you down, so I would have 3. Eventually, the max amount that you can get is 14, I believe. So I would probably roll around with 10 health and 4 mana. That'd probably still be my goal. I mean, I don't know, being a paladin, I might go a little bit more towards the mana, but I'm not sure. What else is there? Oh, I didn't mention the multiplayer thing I showed. So over there on settings, you can see I'm part of the group password Seekers and Berserk. Those are big groups, big communities. I think one of them, Berserk one, is like Reddit or something, and Seekers, I think, is some streamers group. You don't really need to be paying attention to all that, though, but if you put in their names in these slots, every time you might have seen occasionally a message pop up, somebody's become a lord or somebody killed a char bear, you get a buff at the top up there that increases the amount of runes that you get. And depending on what they did, it's like 5 to 15% or something. So for you doing absolutely nothing but having maybe a message pop up on your screen now and then, you're getting more runes incoming. And then on the multiplayer also, something we do is we go to settings and we set a multiplayer password. What this does is you won't see other people's signs. Like if you're just wanting to play with your friend and you don't want another random person joining you, you both set the same password. You put your sign down, he finds your sign, he summons you, and just you guys play together. You can still be invaded though by any random person. That doesn't prevent you from being invaded. It just makes it so random people can't join your game help wise. If you leave it blank, then you can see everybody's messages. Here's your gestures. If you're PvPing, you might want to bow or something like that before you do a fight. Let's see what my summon can do to these guys real quick too. He's not very upgraded. I'm not hopeful for him. He's only +2. He just threw his spear at that guy. He's not very good against guys with shields, but he can teleport, which is nice. So he keeps bosses distracted a lot in battles because when they think they've got him, he teleports and then they're kind of screwed. Oh, that didn't kill him. That did. But he got his horn off. See if I can't. Oh, my pet died already. Oh, no, he didn't. See if I can break this guy's... Okay, chill. Jump attacks are a thing. They actually do more poise damage, so they can break a guard, break their poise or break their guarding. If you do it, as you can see, I really probably would have died if I was a caster or something with how much damage I was. But with this armor, it really soaked up a lot of the damage that could have happened. I wanted to test something though before I end this. Let's go to my spells. I wanted to try an interesting one down here. It's an AoE. I also want to try another one that I just found too. Let's test it while we record. Come on, come call all the peoples. Oh, let's see if I can get it off. No. Oh, it's not as good as I was hoping. Alright. Well, that spell's not very useful. Yeah, it gets interrupted way too easy. Alright, let's try the other one. It's not bad. It sends like a fire whip out. But I mean, in comparison to like what this can do, I mean, seriously? You know, a lot of the stuff in the game just seems like, you know, you just got to test it out. And some of it really needs some work. Oh, I just killed myself, I think. So, that was because I cast so many madness spells in a row. Well, the staff counts as a, or the spear counts as a, the special ability builds up madness. I actually built up the madness meter on myself and almost killed myself. So watch, see? 50% just from that. But this one spell also builds up madness. But I mean, look at this. Watch this. Like, this is so much better than like those other two the other two, like the flame whip that I did. Watch. And look at little baby minuscule amount of madness. Oh, he went around the corner. Just do a regular. You son of a bitch. He was coming back around. Come on, guard counter. I forgot I wasn't on my shield. I was on my, Oh, I should mention, when you clear out an entire camp like that, you get health and mana potions back. So if you're out exploring the world and you don't want to touch a fire, if you can just clear out like a random pathing group of enemies, like there's some bats over here. It's like a pack of 3 or 4. If you kill them all, you'll get, and hopefully you don't take a lot of damage doing it. But if you clear them out, you can get some mana and health potions back without having to go rest at a fire. So you can just keep, you know, exploring. So that's a valid way to keep going in the game and not have to break, you know, you're exploring whatever you're doing. Oh yeah, so I got to get rid of those 2 spells. I mean, if that Shuribri Scream one might be okay if somebody's distracting all the enemies, but it didn't do anything really to the enemies. I was hoping to build up their madness meter enough, since they're humanoid, where I was gonna like cause them to do madness, but it didn't work. So Fire Whip, nope. Aula Cerebri, nope. But yeah, I mean, I think that's as good a tutorial as I can give. I can hope to, like, let me see if I can break this guy's guarding. Nope, that didn't break it. I was hoping to break his counter so you could see. If you two-hand your weapon, by the way, you do a little bit more damage. But then you're down a shield. Jump attack. See, guard broken, and then I walked in real quick when I heard that sound and do a finisher move. Even big enemies and bosses will sometimes, if you can do enough like jump attacks or just regular attacks, or your friends hurry up and gangbang them enough or whatever to do enough damage to their poise. It's a hidden thing, you really can't tell. Some bosses have a way more than others, but if you can break their poise and cause them to get stunned, they will fall, like some enemies will fall on the ground and you'll see a glowing spot at like their eyeball, or on like some of the giants, the giant stone enemies at least, it's on their stomach or their heart. So you go to that spot in a hurry, hit your light attack button, and you'll do a finisher move on that spot. Don't just keep wailing on them when they're down, though. I mean, if they're about to die, might be worth it than trying to run around the whole enemy if you're not near the weak spot. But it does a lot more damage if you can get to the weak spot and hit that weak spot and do the finisher move. Because every time you hit them while they're in that down stun position, you actually wake them up faster. So as soon as you hear that sound or see them that they're going into their vulnerable position, stop attacking, let your stamina rebuild, get to the weak spot. As soon as it appears, nail them in the eye or whatever, if it's the eye weak spot. And then when they're standing back up, they're immune for a while too, so let your stamina build up, drink a potion, reposition yourself, and then go for it. Using those windows of immunity can really help. Like I could have run into that group of enemies, and like maybe while one was distracted, even with 5 enemies around me, I could backstab one, and that whole time that I'm doing the backstab animation, I'm immune to all damage. Timing on your rolls is super important. You can't just, roll constantly. That doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be immune to getting hit. You have to time your rolls so that you don't get hit. If you roll at the wrong time, then you're gonna, or if you're just rolling constantly, he might still tag you. Like that. I was in the middle of a roll, he caught me, because you're not immune for the entire roll, you're immune for the beginning of it. And rolling backwards is not always the best option either. See, that one, he did a forward thrust, so he caught me coming out of the roll backwards. Sometimes rolling forwards is a better option, and then you can get behind him. I was trying to do a backstab there, but you get the idea. I rolled past him and got behind him and was able to negate that. So timing your rolls is super important. What else is there? I think that's it for now. I mean, if I think of anything later, if anybody has any more questions in the comments, I'll make another follow-up video with more information. So, yeah, I mean, check these carts. These are chests up here. Whenever you see them, usually have a bunch of guards. Make sure to clear them out, loot them. That's just the basics, though. So, hope that helps somewhat. Have a good one.